Who's the scarecrow and who's the cowardly lion? And even more important, who's the Tin Man? Because with no heart, they may be a tremendous asset or the one who coldly slits your throat in the middle of the night. I think we can all agree that knowing who's a friend and who's a foe is a wise thing to do before ending up in a crisis with anyone. So how do you size people up? How can you tell who's reliable, who's moral, who's loyal, who's wise and who's an idiot, who has skills, who's mentally fragile, who's resilient, who's a leader, who's a follower? First, you want to get good at reading people while things are calm, when the stress hasn't hit the fan. Getting good at reading someone during ordinary times, it can be difficult. Why? Because humans, we all react differently under stress. The big, muscular, arrogant, tattooed guy with a black belt in jiu-jitsu may collapse in a heap of fear and anxiety when his actual life is on the line. Do you want to align yourself with this guy only to find out later that he's useless in a real emergency? So what are some characteristics to consider favorable? How about physically fit, intelligent, knowledgeable, moral, or mentally disciplined? Do you notice that tattooed is not on the list? Neither is gun owner nor power lifter. Having a full sleeve of tattoos and a 9mm Glock does not necessarily make one an asset in an emergency. So let's examine what does. Okay, physically fit. By this, I mean someone whose physical condition is an asset and not a liability. One who can lift moderate weights, walk long distances, and generally has the stamina to keep up over time is an asset. Because a muscle-bound gorilla is of little utility, as is a fragile snowflake who can't go 30 minutes without a drink of water. Stamina is more important than strength, and stamina is more of a mental thing than a physical thing. Okay, let's move on to intelligence. Have you noticed intelligence and knowledge are two separate categories? I think intelligence reflects a good sense of situational awareness. It's the ability to understand one's present circumstances completely. This awareness is not as straightforward or as common as it sounds. Many people only fill half the equation. These people can immediately recognize when they're lost, but have no idea what to do about it. You want folks who can develop unique, well thought out solutions to highly challenging problems. Let's move on to real life skills and knowledge. Someone with skills or specialized knowledge, ideally acquired through experience rather than a library card or a liberal arts degree, is what you're looking for here. Those skills could include use of firearms, martial arts, camping and outdoor skills, military training, gardening, medical training, survival skills, hunting, fishing, electrical work, etc. Now, just because a man or woman has some of these skills does not mean that they're a reliable asset to your team. To be honest, I'd rather take somebody who's intelligent with no skills over someone with a ton of knowledge and not a lick of common sense or situational awareness. There's the old saying that goes, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So don't place these types of folks in a position to be a danger to you or your family. Next, moral compass. Someone who places others ahead of him or herself. Now, I'm not saying that she must sacrifice her life in the service of others to be moral. But on the other hand, military personnel, firefighters, police officers, well, they risk their lives in service of others every day. That's a definite asset in a crisis. However, morality is not always on display and can be very hard to assess in calm times. But whatever someone's moral compass is in ordinary times, I assure you, stressful situations will compound it. You may think you know someone. You can't tell for sure until their family is in harm's way. Then the real person comes out, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But when evaluating someone, you must look at how they live their life. Is drinking or drugs a problem? Do they have family problems? Do they have a temper perhaps? Do you know of any infidelities? Because let's be honest, if a man decides to cheat on the one he's sworn not to cheat on, how reliable is he to you and your family later when he's under some real pressure? How does someone manage their money? Are they in debt up to their eyeballs? Do they live beyond their means? Overconsumption and spending beyond one's means are another symptom of a weak personality. It's an attempt to compensate for something they're missing in their character. So be wary of this type of person. Let's talk about mental discipline and resiliency, okay? Mental discipline makes all the difference in a crisis. I think it's the glue that binds the rest together. Mentally disciplined men and women do not succumb to raw emotions like fear, panic, or anger. They stay calm in a crisis. They use their knowledge and intelligence to analyze the problems and then formulate real solutions. It can also be the one trait that overcomes the lack of some of the other traits. So what does all of this mean? All these traits that we're looking at? Well, if someone meets all the above requirements, you may have a tremendous tremendous asset on your hand. However, how do you know if he or she has these qualities? Sure, knowledge and skill can be somewhat evident, and you can generally, through conversation, learn what a person knows or doesn't, right? Of course, you must have a keen lie detector filter to root out any BS artists. Because knowing if someone has a skill or a specialized knowledge can be difficult unless you're also familiar with those things yourself. But with that said, I can generally tell in the first 5 minutes if someone knows anything about guns or survival gear and survival skills and home security or self-defense. Because I know those things relatively well. And if someone's looking to blow some smoke by me, I can often tell by their word choices. Now, when sizing someone up, I'll leave you with something you may never have considered. You need to size up yourself first. Who are you? What do you bring to the table? How prepared are you? What kind of person are you going to be? Are you the leader? Or are you the follower? Oddly enough, I think most people tend to place themselves in the role of a leader, and they evaluate others on their ability to follow and support them. After all, don't we secretly want to be the leader of a post-apocalyptic biker gang? But realistically, one needs to know oneself before evaluating others. Are you the leader? Are you looking for someone to follow? Is that person perhaps a better choice as a leader than yourself? If you're wise, you may want to follow someone who's more reliable, more knowledgeable, and more disciplined than you. On the other hand, if you can't see yourself as a follower, do you want that strong leader in your group? They may become a rival. And when sizing someone up, you need to do so with open eyes and an open mind. Ironically, if you take that tact, you may find the leader that gives your family and friends the absolute best chance for survival is not you. And only a fool whose ego's in the way would overlook that possibility. That may be a really hard pill for some to swallow, but you gotta ask yourself, what's the real goal? Being mentally and emotionally and physically resilient are the main aspects that everyone should focus on to be ready for the chaotic future. And I go over all these important, critical resiliency traits in this video called The 4 Key Ingredients to Living a Resilient Life. Because I believe that living a resilient life is the key to living a better life. A life with way less anxiety, but one filled with more purpose and more meaning. It's a way of life that looks for meaningful challenges and takes them head on so that you can feel empowered by overcoming hard things. It also focuses on strategic backups so that you can ride out the inevitable tough times ahead. So make sure that you click right here for the next video to learn what living a resilient life is all about. Until next time, prepare, adapt, and overcome.